All right. What's going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam. Hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight. Hope everyone having a great Tuesday. You guys already know what time it is. It's mock draft season, ladies and gentlemen. So you guys know what we're here to do. Gonna hop into a live 2025 fantasy football mock draft with you guys, with the Catch fam. So got a couple spots open, looking at 5 spots open. So give me a second here. The link is live on Discord, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it out on the YouTube chat in just a minute here as well. And we'll get rocking and rolling as soon as the mock fills up. Yeah. Hope everyone's doing fantastic. Talk some fantasy football tonight. Gonna have some fun. All right. Chat or link is in the chat. Officially, we got 3 spots. This will be a random order draft. I mean, we always do random order, so I think you guys know that by now. But as soon as this fills up, we will randomize the order. 2 spots left. And then we'll get rocking and rolling. I'll send a final warning out on Discord and Sleeper, so everyone is good to go. 1 spot left, and we'll go from there. You guys know the drill. So hope everyone's doing great. Got a couple topics I want to get into tonight, and we'll just kind of go from there, evaluate the draft. And I am running on pretty low energy. Did not get a ton of sleep last night. I wanted to do 2 mock drafts potentially tonight. So we'll see how I feel after the first one. And we'll go from there. But I'm not quite sure I'm going to make it through 2. All right. Full room. Let's get this thing rolling here. All right. Let me send out the final warning. It looks like, I think everyone's in here. But I always send out the final warning. Just want to be safe. Don't want to leave anyone out. All right, let's get this thing going, ladies and gentlemen. I got the 1.3 tonight. See what happens. All right, that was quick. I'll just take Barkley. Barkley, JJ, Bijan, kind of that tier, finishing out that, very beginning of the first round here. I mean, I really, truly do not think that there is a bad selection in the first round. But I think that first tier is basically Chase, Lamb, JJ, Barkley, Bijan, and then we move on to Puka, Amon-Ra. I think Gibbs is pretty dang close to Barkley and Bijan. But I'll go Barkley here, and we'll go a little hero RB build tonight. Why not? But I think it's perfectly okay to take Justin Jefferson right there if you want to start your draft with a wide receiver. You guys know what I say every single off season, right? It's you just got to determine in the first round, are you going running back or are you going wide receiver to start your draft and then just build off of that, right? What is your strat going to be? Are you going to go aggressive wide receiver? You're going to draft 3 wide receivers in a row. You're going to go hero running back. You can go double hero running back. I guarantee you guys, go back to last off season, right? We did a lot of builds where we went double hero running back. A lot of them did include Breece Hall, but a lot of them included Bijan Robinson and then a back like Saquon Barkley, Jahmyr Gibbs, or Derrick Henry. Other guys like James Cook, Rashad White, kind of in the beginning of the 3rd round, right? And there's probably a name or 2 I'm forgetting there, but I guarantee you, especially because I was so personally high on Barkley and Henry last off season. I guess that's kind of besides the point. I just will never stop throwing that in there. That last offseason, I was high on Barkley and Henry. But, I guarantee with kind of the resurgence of the running back position in terms of fantasy football output that we got last year, that you're going to see a lot of double hero running back builds going into the 2025 season, especially, we'll break down some of the names that are going in the first and second round. Maybe even the 3rd round, and kind of take a look at that. But I think you're going to see a lot of that going into this coming season. And I think that's going to leave some good value at the wide receiver position in the first couple rounds as well. All right, first round, quick and easy. There you guys have it. Chase, Lamb, Barkley, Bijan Mustard, JJ, Amon-Ra, Puka Nacua, Jahmyr Gibbs, Neighbors, B. Tom, Ashton Genty, and Nico Collins to wrap up the first round. Then going into that second round, AJ Brown, one of my favorite values right now in drafts. I have a hard time understanding why AJ Brown gets so disrespected and why that Eagles offense gets so disrespected. And don't tell me that you were like one of these people not disrespecting the Eagles offense last off season and during the regular season last year. All I remember from last year is defending the Eagles offense like mid-season and like preseason as well, right? And I just, I mean, I know that AJ Brown fell to wide receiver 20 last year, but he missed 3 games. I don't know. I just feel like AJ Brown, Devonta Smith consistently come in as great value options. Let me pull up too, so I have it in front of me. I'm gonna hop into the chat in just a second here, say what's up to everybody. But I want to look at AJ Brown's points per game last year. 16.7. So that's what's crazy to me too, is like, so AJ Brown 2022 17.6 fantasy points per game, 2023 17 fantasy points per game. Then last year he's under by 0.3 at 16.7 from the previous season, and he's fallen back. You look at 2022. I don't off the top of my head remember where AJ Brown was going in drafts going into 2023, but going into last year, like he fell towards the end of the first round, and then right now we're seeing him beginning the second, and like the point differential per game is basically nothing. So, all right, let me make this next pick. I'll stop talking about AJ Brown, and I do want to kind of talk about the second round in just a second here after I say what's up to everybody and we get rolling with the chat. But man, end of the second round is kind of an interesting tier, but I got to go wide receiver. Interesting list of wide receivers here, though. And you got Derrick Henry at the top of the board if I want to go double hero running back. Josh Jacobs, I like that pick. I am kind of tempted to go Derrick Henry right here, especially because his tier of wide receivers, like I think is pretty wide open for me. I mean, Tyreek Hill, who I think will fall a little bit behind where he's ranked. JSN, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson, Scary Terry, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams. I mean, you guys can look, right? But yeah, I mean, I am a bit tempted to go Derrick Henry right here. I'm not going to lie to you guys. You know what? For the purpose of research, I'll go double hero running back. Why not? Let's go Henry. Going back to last offseason, right? Those are my boys. Barkley and Henry. All right, J-Dubs, what's going on, bro? Good to see you. Vincent, always great to have you in the house. Cameron, great to see everybody tonight. Hope you guys are doing fantastic. That's right, Tom. We are back. Taylor, what's up, man? Hope you're doing well. Before I forget, I for the one quarterback dynasty league that finished up the draft over the last 2 days, and I was the last pick, I swear that I meant to set a reminder. I don't have sleeper notifications on right now, which is part of the problem, but my bad, because I took the full 4 hours for my pick and then it went to auto pick, and sorry. All right. I'm going to go wide receiver here no matter what. See, that's the thing. Like, I feel like the value of Henry there at the 2.10, like, outweighs like Marvin Harrison Jr., JSN, Higgins, Garrett Wilson. That tier is very close for me. So I'm going to go Garrett Wilson just to kind of take that stability where I feel like T. Higgins is a little bit more, I don't want to say inconsistent, but in terms of availability, maybe inconsistent, right? So his points per game, pretty dang high last year. I mean, the Bengals offense, 18.5 fantasy points per game. So, I got no problem going Higgins right there if that's who you want, but I'm going to take the stability. I am feeling good about Garrett Wilson going into this year, as I do or have every year, but I do feel like Justin Fields is going to just force feed Garrett Wilson this year. So I'm good with that. All right. Taylor, this is redraft. Yes, sir. Chase in the house. What's up? Good to see you as well, my guy. Hello, hello. It's redraft season, baby. It's still a little dynasty season too, but rookie drafts for a lot of leagues are probably starting to wrap up here. Got some spam in the chat. Always good. That means we're back, boys. Puppy after this mock. We'll see. We'll see. I saw you put that on Discord. I do want to start hopping into some underdog drafts as well. But I kind of want to do like a separate stream whenever I start that too. I'm working like 3 jobs right now. Things have been really, really busy, as they always are. So I do apologize. I know I'm like a little bit behind on getting everything started for the year, but we're still in May, so we're a little early. I know other channels have a lot more going on or have never stopped, but it is what it is. I do have a slow puppy going on that I also forgot about. So it's on auto draft. And yeah, I don't this is my only underdog entry right now. It's a slow draft. I think I made the first pick. I sometimes I'll have a slow draft going on underdog because that allows me to go into a draft and look at all of the current ADP of players. So I like to in the offseason just always have a slow draft going on. So yeah, but I got Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, and Jared Goff. I have 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends: Sam Laporta, Tucker Kraft, and Dalton Kincaid. Bijan, Bucky, and Najee Harris. Tyreek Hill, Jameson Williams, Zay Flowers, Jawan Jennings, Xavier Leggett, Adam Thielen. So do whatever you want with that information. But let's backtrack a bit here. And yeah, I think the second round right now is very interesting. And it always is. I feel like the second round, year after year always kind of feels like that spot of like you're almost never satisfied. Maybe the turn at the third round as well. Like it kind of is that same feel where like you're not getting a bad player. It's just like there's still a lot of value contingent on those specific players. So the decision feels like a little bit elevated, so to speak. But AJ Brown, Brock Bowers, who I'm not personally I'm not knocking you guys if you want to draft Brock Bowers, but I'm not drafting a tight end ever in the second round. I understand it. I'm just not doing it personally. Drake London, Kyron, Ladd, A-Chain, JT, C-Mac, Jacobs, Henry's a really interesting stretch. MH Jr., JSN. Then I still think like Bucky, Garrett Wilson, T. Higgins. You could see any of those guys go in the second. Maybe Omarion Hampton. I know rookie fever is hot, so maybe Tyreek Hill, depending on who you're drafting with. So yeah, I think the second round, like I don't think there's a single bad selection there. The players that I don't know if I worry about them, but I worry about a little bit of regression for Ladd McConkey this year. But it's also tough to say because he was the wide receiver 13 last year off the top of my head. Let me fact check myself here. Yeah, wide receiver 13. So, I mean, like, it's not, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 wide receivers going before him. It's not that bad of a spot. But 15.1 fantasy points per game last year for Ladd. He is going to be the true number 1 option on that team. But we add Najee, we add Omarion Hampton. We know that run game's still going to be the bread and butter there. And you guys know that I like Trey Harris a lot. I'm not really worried about like Quinn Johnston or Mike Williams or anyone else there. But let me make this draft pick real quick. I don't know why I'm like shaky about Ladd there in the second round. It's not awful. It's not awful. I'm going to go Zay Flowers here. I feel like a lot of people are really low on Zay Flowers right now. Man, I know he got banged up at the end of the year and everything. But like I think Zay Flowers in the 4th round is a good value. I'm not expecting like a high ceiling play out of Zay Flowers ever. But like as a wide receiver 2, a flex option, like I feel like that floor is there. So I mean I got 2 Ravens on this team, but I'm okay with Zay Flowers. There's a couple wide receivers I like in this range. But yeah, second round is really interesting. And like we see this every offseason where the second round will always have some sort of like dramatic shift. You may have 1 or 2 players reach into the first round. You may have 1 or 2 players come out of the second round. 1 or 2 players come up from the third round. And obviously things are going to continue to change throughout the offseason, right? And I don't know. There's going to be some different ADPs as time goes on, of course. But, right now, I think the second round is pretty solid. am interested in how you guys feel about Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. I think at the 2.11, that's a perfectly fine place to draft him, but he finished as the wide receiver 30 last year in PPR. And I do personally believe there's positive regression coming for Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think there's any reason to like not believe that, because he was, a tad bit underwhelming. I think everyone would agree in his rookie season, at least compared to expectations. And then especially looking at guys like Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr., right? But really, like, he didn't have a bad rookie season. He had 885 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns, 116 targets, 62 receptions. But also, like, the Cardinals offense last year, let's not forget, it was just, I don't know. It just wasn't in sync. But he is, I know Trey McBride's there, of course, right? But Marvin Harrison Jr. is the clear-cut wide receiver 1 there. So there's just so much room for positive regression that I'm okay where he's going in drafts. But I've seen some people like not feel as good about MH in the second round. But I'm okay. I think those wide receivers that we saw go in the second to the beginning of the third, I really like that kind of bracket. AJ Brown, Drake London, Ladd McConkey, Marvin Harrison Jr., JSN, Garrett Wilson, Higgins. Maybe cut it off there, but I still really like Scary Terry. And depending on how far Tyreek Hill falls, I'm all in on Tyreek Hill right now. Now we have some time till the season starts. Obviously, he has some off the field issues right now, but is it going to be addressed this season? I mean, probably not. Knowing how the NFL handles these things. So, listen, last year let down. Tyreek Hill was like the 1.2, 1.3 in drafts last year. Huge letdown from having a wide receiver 6 or better in 4 straight seasons, a wide receiver 8 or better in 8 of his last 9 seasons before last year. But also Tua Tagovailoa was hurt for basically all of last season. It felt like, it was what, 1, 2, 3, 4 games. Okay. It felt like a lot longer than that. So I don't know. Another offense that just didn't quite get in sync last year. So I kind of like Tyreek Hill where he's going. And let's look here. In terms of fantasy points per game, I mean, 12.8 is not great. But like third round as a flex option that still has upside if healthy, I'm okay with where Hill's going personally. Now, if he falls to the 4th, like I will draft him in the 4th for sure. So okay, we land Devonta Smith in the 5th. Why? Do I really? I'm not going to go on a Devonta Smith rant tonight. I'm not. But this is a player that like this time of year is always going in the 5th round, and then slowly but surely as offseason progresses, he moves up. So Devonta Smith, 15.3 fantasy points per game, has had 14.2 or more fantasy points per game in 3 straight seasons. Was a little banged up last year, played in 13 games, 833 receiving yards, 8 receiving touchdowns. Like I'm going to draft Devonta Smith there all day long. I just am. So kind of look at this build here in like a double hero RB approach. We're coming out the gate with Barkley and Henry. Then I think we get 3 solid wide receivers. You're going to lose some upside, generally speaking. We could have gone Higgins over Garrett Wilson, for example, which maybe would have helped there. But, we have good consistent floors for a double flex format, full PPR. I'd be really happy with these 3 wide receivers right here. So we shall see what happens. Chase, appreciate it. Taylor says MH Jr. is undervalued. Yeah. And that's the thing. The second round is, we discussed it a bit here, but it's always interesting there. Because all those players you could kind of shift around in terms of your own personal conviction. All right, I love Chris Godwin there at the 6.9. Probably would have taken him if he was available here. I want to like Jerry Jeudy in this range, and I don't dislike him. I just don't know what in the world is going to happen with that quarterback situation. I just really don't. And I don't know, man. Maybe a lot of those big games came with Jameis Winston at home, right? Like, who is going to be the Browns core? I mean, Flacco's there. Fine. I'll just go Jeudy. I'm going to go Jeudy. We're not going to overthink it. But this is a really interesting tier of wide receivers. I am like still too worried to draft Brandon Ayuk. Like I Purdy's gonna get re-signed. Is anyone out there worried about Brock Purdy? Not Brock Purdy's gonna be there next year. They're gonna re-sign Brock. They're gonna give Purdy the extension. Okay. Nobody's gonna tell me otherwise. Don't make me go on a Brock Purdy rant either. But disappointing year for Ayuk last year to say the least. Obviously got injured, coming off of his holdout and contract and all that. But you look at this wide receiver core. Do you think Ricky Pearsall's gonna have a solid season? I think Jawan Jennings could be in that mix. You still have some interesting names. Demarcus Robinson's on this team now. We know Kittle's going to get his. C-Mac's going to come back healthy. All that stuff. I don't know. I think Ayuk could end up being a really good value where he's going in drafts right now. I think he could also be a huge risk. And you look at the wide receivers taken in the 6th round so far: J-Mo, Pickens, Addison, Olave. Say what you want about Olave. Maybe you don't like the outfield situation with Addison potentially. Pickens is, Pickens. J-Mo, no more, Ben Johnson. There's debate here. Debo, like people have feelings about Debo as well. So yeah, there are things to be said about, all these players at the wide receiver position in the 6th round, but I think that there's potentially a lot of really good value with those guys that were named. So we'll see what happens. All right, looks like the last 2 picks got put on auto there for a second. So Coach Hugh Jackson, get back in here. You got Goff in the 6th, and Ayuk got shipped to you as well. Yeah, I mean, this time of year, I'm just going to be, especially in a double flex format. You guys know I like to build out at wide receiver. I mean, it might be smart to kind of go running back sooner rather than later, but we're going deep into that double RB build here. So I'm gonna go Khalil Shakir. I really like him in this range. I mean, they gave him a big extension, and you still look at this Buffalo wide receiver room. What is it? You got Khalil Shakir, Elijah Moore, Keon Coleman, Laviska Shenault is on this team, Josh Palmer, Curtis Samuel. Then you still got Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox at tight end, James Cook, unless he refuses to play or whatever, is going to get a little bit of action there in the passing game as well. I think Khalil Shakir is the clear-cut number 1 option, and is he going to have a tremendous amount of upside? No, but in terms of consistency, once again, this is a player who I think is going to have a tremendous amount of consistency and may not always have the highest floor, but outside of injury, I don't see any reason why Khalil Shakir is not going to be a focal point of that offense. So 12.2 fantasy points per game, in the 7th round, that's fine, right? And last year he had single digits in 4 games that he played in. Every other game he hit double digits. So you guys know that's another thing that I look for. So maybe could have got running back there. We're starting to kind of build out at wide receiver, but that's okay. I don't mind moving into the bench at this point. So see what happens. All right, Chase, how do you feel about Chuba in the 4th? Got him so late last year. Yeah. I think Chuba's fine in the 4th. Let's take a look at a few running backs in the 4th. I'm probably still going James Cook over Chuba. Walker and Swift are close. They're close. I mean, Kamara, Chuba, Cook, Walker, Swift. I am like perfectly fine with James Cook. The only thing like holding James Cook back right now in terms of like, conviction would be if he does truly hold out, unhappy with the contract situation there. But I think that whole tier of running back, if you're going kind of aggro at wide receiver, whatever it may be, right? If that's going to be your second running back off the board, I'm okay with any of those guys in the 4th. But I do think Chuba Hubbard's kind of interesting right now because some people are scared of that running back room. Jonathan Brooks is not going to play this season. We know that. But, Rico Dowdle signed in the offseason, coming off of a decent year. RB23 in fantasy, was definitely a startable player last year. And then they went out and drafted Trevor Etienne as well. So personally, I'm more concerned about Rico Dowdle out of that backfield than I am the drafting of Trevor Etienne. I'm not like, against Trevor Etienne or anything, but this was not This is a player who was drafted in the 4th round for a reason. So, I think he could make an impact for sure. But, I think it's still Chuba's backfield, but there is definitely going to be room for competition in terms of snaps at this point. So I'm not freaking out about it by any stretch. I do think that offense will continue to improve with Dave Canales as the head coach, like we saw, as last season went on. I think Bryce Young will continue to improve. The wide receiver room is very interesting right now. You still got Adam Thielen. You got the Cokehead himself, Jalen Coker. You got Leggett. And then they went out and signed, drafted Ted McMillan as well. So it's definitely an interesting wide receiver room. Jatavon Sanders, decent in terms of a tight end option there. Tommy Tremble always has some moments. So, there's pieces here for that offense to continue to improve. So, I think that'll be okay for Chuba's output going into next year. So I'm okay with him in the 4th. But yeah, you're not going to get that late round value on him. I mean, you're just not. You're just not. So Vincent doesn't like Zay Flowers. Yeah, I kind of mentioned this when I drafted him. I know some people not a fan, but in terms of just bringing a consistent floor, as long as he's healthy, Zay Flowers is that guy on this team. There's no competition at wide receiver. Bateman had some great moments last year. It was a great kind of waiver wire streaming option if you were desperate. I know they signed D-Hop, but I'm not worried about that. Then obviously you got Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and obviously Lamar and Derrick Henry gonna run that offense first and foremost. But yeah, I like Zay Flowers in the 4th. But is the upside high? No, he's been wide receiver 31 and 25 in the past 2 years. But I was looking for a little bit of consistency there. And then crossing my fingers, I got Devonta Smith, which still happens. So I will say, I like Cortland Sutton there. I like Flowers and Sutton, maybe even Metcalf over Waddle and Adunze, and probably still before Travis Hunter for me, but I'm okay with Hunter there. But yeah, I mean, DK Metcalf is another name that hasn't come up tonight. I am perfectly okay with DK Metcalf. Now, the question arises, who in the world is the Steelers quarterback? It's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers, I think, is what we're all anticipating. If it ends up not being Rodgers and it's this, cluster of Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, and Will Howard, then I probably am not going to be as interested. I won't lie. And personally, once again, there's another thing that I always talk about. I like DK Metcalf more going into the season with George Pickens on the Steelers still. But now George Pickens is on the Cowboys because, once again, there's something I always talk about. Solid wide receiver 2s paired with a solid wide receiver 1 is not a bad thing. Some people look at the volume's just not going to be there. There's so many teams out there who have 2 productive wide receivers on the team. It's something I talk about every single year. AJ Brown and Devonta Smith, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. We see it year and year. It just happens, right? Previous years, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. If you're high on Rome Odunze, DJ Moore is still going to get his, right? There's a lot of examples out there. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, et cetera, right? And for me, it does not bother me whatsoever if we see 2 stud wide receivers on the same team. So now I will say personally that kind of lowered DK Metcalf for me. Because once again, what is that offense really going to be? I think they're going to have a good run game. Pat Freiermuth is there, but I don't know. I like Metcalf more with Pickens lining up next to him. All right, I probably need to go running back here. I'll go Tyrone Tracy. Yeah, I know. Scam Catable. I know. Cats, we might run a second one. We'll see what happens. This one's going pretty quick. Taylor likes Kittle in the 5th. I don't dislike it. I definitely don't dislike it. But I'm still not drafting tight end that early. I'm not. But Kittle was the tight end 2 last year, tight end 3. It's good value on him. I'd way rather draft Kittle in the 5th than spend a 2nd or 3rd rounder on a tight end. I'm tempted to go wide receiver here. but I probably need to just go with another running back. I do kind of feel like the running back dead zone, so to speak, is a little shaky this year. It always improves as the offseason goes on, but I don't know. I'm gonna go Jalen Warren here. We're kind of in two situations here with like the quote unquote veteran guys here in both these backfields. Like you got Caleb Johnson in the Steelers, then Scatabo with the Giants now. So, I still think the majority of the early season we'll see most of the snaps go to Tracy and Warren in those respective backfields. So, uh, a couple options. Charbonnet is a good option. He goes at the 9.4. Like he's going to get all that volume if and when Kenneth Walker does probably get hurt this upcoming season, as we see every year. But uh, if you're going hero running back, especially double hero running back, then kind of building out at wide receiver like I did in this draft, like we're not gonna get the best options at running back late. Cinnabone, what's up? I think ETN will have earned the RB2 role by the end of camp. I think Trevor's draft capital is more investment than Rico's contract. That's fine. Yeah, and like some people had Trevor Etienne going much later than a fourth round prospect. So I don't think you're necessarily wrong there. Yeah, I mean, I think whether it's Etienne or Dowdle, somebody will eat into Chuba's, work load this coming season. But there were times last year where that was a concern, albeit it was Jonathan Brooks and what Miles Sanders. Why do I feel like there's another running back involved at times? Maybe I'm just going crazy, but the question I think will become a little bit less about how much volume is going to the specific running backs and become a little bit more about like how productive can that offense actually be. And I think the offense will be improved compared to last year. Just like last offseason, I was relatively high on the Panthers offense, at least like value wise in drafts, especially underdog drafts, because I believed in Dave Canales as head coach and improving that offense and Bryce Young specifically, which looked like an awful call early in the season, but it did essentially work out. So yeah, I won't be surprised if ETN gets the RB2 role, but I am kind of a Rico Dowdle truther. Like Zay the player, but his situation is more seventh round in my opinion. That's fair. It's fair. He's not gonna go that late in draft. So, like I said, I would be okay with Cortland Sutton there. Maybe Metcalf. I do like. I mean, Xavier Worthy, the end of the fifth, JMO, the beginning of the sixth. A lot of good upside. I really like all the receivers who kind of went in that range. So, another guy that did not get mentioned yet is Jacoby Myers at the 7-9. I am really high on Jacoby Myers as a value selection right now. We know that Geno Smith can play the quarterback position, right? Guys like Metcalf and JSN were still fine last year. Jacoby Myers coming off of his best season in terms of fantasy points per game at 14.5. You could definitely argue he's the number 2 option with Brock Bowers there, but he's the number 1 wide receiver on that team. And he's going to get volume this year. Wide receiver 19 last year has been a wide receiver 30 or better in 4 straight seasons. Wide receiver 24 or better in his he's always one of these guys that just gets like kicked back in drafts. And I just think he's a great value right now. I really, really do. So I love him in the 7th. I know people aren't going to like this. I like Jaden Reed a lot in the 8th round right now. I know like there's some questions in terms of like him getting hurt late in the season and all that. But like, he's been a wide receiver 30 or better in his 2 seasons with the Packers. And I just kind of personally feel like in this cluster gross fantasy situation for wide receivers with the Packers that he's going to come out and be fine. I won't be surprised if Matthew Golden becomes a true wide receiver 1 for the Packers. Won't be surprised if Romeo Doubs still has a good amount of volume and Tucker Kraft, the tight end position, and they're going to run the football first. They showed that last year, right? But I think that Jaden Reed's going to be fine. I'm kind of giving up on Christian Watson, not going to lie to you guys. But I think that Jaden Reed will be fine. And like the risk is so low. You know what I mean? Like he's going in the 8th round. So I like Jaden Reed a lot in that range, and call me crazy, I think Stephon Diggs is okay as well. I think he's okay. I do like Kyle Williams a lot, but outside of that, that wide receiver room doesn't scare me. Hunter Henry might get some at the tight end position, but we got a sophomore quarterback in our boy Drake May, and I think that Diggs is going to get a lot of volume as long as he can stay healthy. I mean, I know he's old and whatever, coming off injury. So, all right, you guys, I'm going to reach for my boy Rachaad White. Okay, every single time you leave Rachaad White on the board, I'm going to draft him. Okay, 12.5 fantasy points per game last year. That was down from the 15.8 fantasy points he had in 2023, but he was still heavily involved in that offense last year, even with the rise of our boy Bucky Irving. And when you really break it down, Rachaad White, in terms of double-digit fantasy points, we had, let's look at it this way: single-digit fantasy points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Yeah, that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games last year where he gave you single digits. Every other game, double digits, which was, he was the RB4 in 2023, moved back to the RB22. Now, if your viewpoint is that okay, who cares? Bucky Irving's going to be the guy this year. That's perfectly fine. But what if Bucky goes down? What if Bucky gets hurt? It's all going to be Rachaad White. And I still think that there's a role for Rachaad White in that offense at the end of the day. So, now there's a lot of volume within that offense, a lot of mouths to feed. But I think that's a good thing for both Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. This team's going to be in the red zone. They're going to sling the football. I was really high on the Bucs last year. You guys know that. And I'm going to be that is an offense I want to attack because there's just no bad outcome. I think Baker Mayfield is arguably the best value at the quarterback position in all the fantasy drafts right now, coming off of the quarterback 4, quarterback 10 the previous season. This offense is loaded for Baker Mayfield to have success this year. The offensive line is good. We got Bucky Irving and Rachaad White and Sean Tucker, if you want to go that deep. Remember that one game he had last year? But then, we got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, Amika Igbukwa, excuse me. And he still got some other interesting names like Trey Palmer and Sterling Shepard at wide receiver. They just have a loaded wide receiver room. Then he still got Cade Otton at tight end too. There's just really no bad outcome for the passing attack unless we see multiple injuries, kind of the Chiefs offense last year with Hollywood and Rashee Rice going down. But there's just outside injury, no bad outcome for that passing attack, and that's going to mean a lot of red zone trips for both Bucky and Rachaad White. So I am all in there in terms of can we get some of the pieces of that offense late? Amika Igbukwa does go at the 9.8. Jalen McMillan goes at the 9.7. That is interesting for sure. Cinnabon, if Henderson is still going in the 5th, early 6th by August, I'm going to draft him 10 out of 10 times there. Yeah. I like Henderson there as well. I think there's going to be some good value in terms of some of these rookie running backs. RJ Harvey hasn't come up tonight. The Broncos, we talked a little bit about Cortland Sutton, but they haven't really come up tonight. I like RJ Harvey a lot. I like Judkins. I like Henderson. The only thing that worries me about Judkins is A, I'm worried about the Browns offense in general, but B, I think that Dylan Sampson's a really good prospect at running back as well. But we got Caleb Johnson in the 7th. Which interesting seeing Najee he gets so pushed back, but I think Najee is still going to have a really big role in that offense. Scatterbo goes in the 9th. We got Blue in the 11th. So there are going to be good values in terms of rookie running backs for sure. Do you guys think that Jadon Blue is going to win in terms of that backfield competition? He's pretty dang stout. Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Deuce Vaughn. I could see just a really boring scenario where it's just Javonte Williams all year long. All right, if we run a second mock, there's no team reviews. So you guys, whatever I see the most of in the chat, team reviews or second mock, you guys decide. Taylor, Jawan Jennings 999 ADP feels very insulting. Is it actually 999? Because he went at the 7.11. Yeah, I do like Jennings. Tons of upside. He's saying he's the wide receiver 1 on that offense. But I guess that's what all wide receivers say. He had 14 fantasy points per game last year. Not bad. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with Jennings in that range, but you're going to get some, ups and downs for sure. But the upside is there. Boxing the Jack, what's up? Rashad White's best value in the draft. That's right, baby. You know it. Have him at 40% exposure in Underdog. Yeah, I love it. I am there. I'm right there with you. JTube, should I trade 8th position for 2nd position in my dynasty draft? Well, what are you giving up? How are you moving from the 8th to the 2nd is the question, my boy. Good value on Ingram there. Yeah, I was not going to go tight end and draft Bo Nix, who's now gone, but it's okay. Bo Nix is going to be my late round guy. I'm just going to let you at quarterback for sure. So now I'm left with Kyler, Herbert, J-Lo, Purdy, Stroud. I kind of like Stroud's value right now. Everyone hates Kyler, but he was a QB 10 last year. Am I wrong for being intrigued by Hunter Henry as a late value? No, not at all. Not at all. I actually think, like, in terms of tight end value right now, David Njoku, Dalton Kincaid, like, we have so many names here at the end of drafts that I think are worth it. Hunter Henry in there, Pat Freiermuth. Like, there's going to be some tight ends who are going to be automatic waiver additions like 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season. All right, that's a heck of a draft right there. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen. All right, are we running it back? Yeah, I just won't have time to do team reviews and run a second mock. All right, let me get the second mock set up quickly. I'm only going to send it in the YouTube chat, so you guys will have to be in the YouTube chat to get the invite. And maybe I can squeeze out a review or two while we wait for it to fill. Michael in the house. What's up, brother? At the very least, Blue will be involved in the passing game. He can play in the slot too, says Taylor. Yeah, they need the help. I mean, behind CD, Ferguson, Pickens, I mean, it's a little thin. No more Brandon Cooks in that building. But who they got Jalen Tolbert, I still like. Kavontae Turpin, he's fast. I do think that the Cowboys offense is not going to be as bad as some people are perceiving. Like we're going to get everyone back and healthy, which is just Dak Prescott. And, you look at Dak's last full season, it was a QB3. Like, they had a really weak schedule. Like, they were playing some crappy teams. The Eagles and the Commanders secondaries in 2023 were the 2 worst in the NFL. And like, they were lighting up some teams and losing to really good teams. But the Cowboys offense in 2023, take away the playoffs, all that stuff, like, they were on absolute fire. So I think they'll be much better than some people are perceiving currently. All right. Tom asked for a team review. Hurts, McBride. Can't go wrong there. And we got a few spots open in the second mock. It's in the chat there for you guys. Kyron, Chuba, Monty. I love the value on Monty. Blake Corum, Eckler, little handcuff. And I like Eckler in the 12th. Neighbors, Myers, Diggs, Mooney, Kyle Williams. Pretty good values there. A couple guys we talked about, right? Hurts, McBride, Kyron, Chuba, Neighbors, Myers, flexing, Monty, and Diggs. Maybe Mooney and Kyron are definitely options. It's a good team, actually. Yeah. I typically don't want to go tight end that early, but I think that's a good squad, Tom. Sorry, let me highlight them for you guys. Mike, what's up, bro? How are you? You know it's not a mock draft if Michael doesn't snipe me. So he gets Bo Nix in the 12th. Fergie in the 11th. I like both those picks. Amon-Ra, Hill, Sutton, Olave, Kirk. I'll take it. I really want to like Christian Kirk. You guys know that's my boy, but they added a lot of depth in the draft at the position. I think he'll still be good, though. JT Cook, Jones, Najee, Jordan Mason, good values at running back. So you're starting Nix, Fergie, JT Cook, Amon-Ra, Hill, Sutton, Olave. You got a lot of options at running back and a good bench here. Flex options. Good squad. Good squad, Mike. Don't take Bo Nix from me again. All right, still a few spots, 2, 4, 5 spots left in the second mock. That link is in the chat. All right, Cam. We got Lamar and Bowers. What's your strat this year, Cameron? Because you always have a strat, controversial or not. This looks like a true hero RB build. Rice, Worthy, JMO, Jennings, Golden. I'll take the values at wide receiver there. Genty's your boy. Scatabo, Stevenson, Spears, Davis. I mean, there's arguments for any of those guys. But Lamar, Bowers, Genty, Stevenson as your starters. Could argue another running back there if you want. Rice, JMO, Worthy, Jennings be your lineup. Maybe Golden overtakes one of those guys. I mean, I don't mind double dipping into the Chiefs offense there. But some weeks that may hurt you. But hey, if it's the best player on the board, the position, you take them regardless of the situation. So for hero RB build, I mean, obviously, like you're going to figure out running back, but I'm not going to argue with your strat because I know you have something logical going on per usual. So you're going to figure out your RB2. You already know that. If you're going to build a team like this, you already know that. All right, we still got a few spots. Let me send this out on Discord as well very quickly, and we'll keep going in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight. Thank you guys for drafting. Always a pleasure. Cats. Where's Cats? Cats want to get in the draft. Now he's not here. J-Dubs, what we do tonight, my mans? All right, Kayla. Who do you guys like in that end range of quarterbacks? Caleb, Bo Nix, Prescott. Who do you guys like less than Caleb or more than Caleb? How are you guys feeling in terms of, Ben Johnson's going to be the offensive coordinator. We have some added weapons in that offense. How we feeling? I'm okay if Caleb's your guy there. I think Mark Andrews, unless he gets traded or whatever, Mark Andrews is a great value in the 9th. I mean, this is one that I know we ended the year on a bad, sour note with the drop pass and all that stuff, but he's your tight end 6 last year. It's not going to I think he's a great value there. One spot left in the mock. Cats did make it in. C-Mac, Pollard, B-Rob, Garando. Leave it to J-Dubs to draft Roschon Johnson. Are we really back to this? Back on the Roschon Johnson train? J.J. Higgins, DJ Moore, Hunter, Ridley. Love the wide receivers. Lots of upside. So you're starting Caleb, Andrews, C-Mac, Pollard, J.J. Higgins, Moore, Hunter, or Ridley. Like Brian Robinson on the bench. Good team. Very solid team. I'm good with it. All right, let me gear up here. We got one spot left in the new mock, boys and girls. So there's me. There's our new mock. One spot, then we will get it rocking and rolling. Great first mock tonight. I did really like my team. Not going to break it down, but I really like my team. So unless this next spot takes like 15 minutes to fill, I think we're done with team reviews. And let's hop into the second mock, boys and girls. One spot left. The link is in the YouTube chat. It is also, I'll just send it again. So it's at the bottom. And never mind, it's filled. All right, we're going to randomize this bad boy. We're going to get rolling into a second mock. Send out a warning. and then we'll get going. Starting, and I'll set it on Discord as well. Oh, it feels good to be back in the swing of things, guys. All right, let's start the draft. LJ, RJ, Aaron Rodgers, you are on the board. All right. Should be good to go. Okay. We're rocking and rolling into a second mock, guys. And the first pick might be an auto pick, but it's okay. Andrea, how are you? Good to see you. Hello, hello. Caleb's going to win MVP. I mean, he might, you know. What are the odds? Someone check. What are the odds? Caleb Williams, MVP. It's probably pretty dang good. All right. 1.1 is Chase. Kuda, you're on the board. What's up, Kuda? Where are you out there? Vincent likes Dak or Knicks in that range. Yeah, I do really like Dak Prescott in that range. But Bo Nix could be my guy for sure. 86 Caleb. Like his Madden rating. Cameron gets to 1.11 and the 1.12. Sorry. I always liked the end of the first, but I understand not liking it too. But I just feel like those players at the beginning of the second round, like they are always basically first round like values. So, you know, for me, I like it. I haven't had an offseason where I haven't liked it, but I understand if it's not what you want. If it's not what you prefer. All right. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, you know, for your dynasty leagues, whether it's super flex, single quarterback, if you have rookie mocks coming up, you know, any of that stuff, of course, let me know as well. And let's get a little poll going. Actually, I'm just going to make it the generic. Hit the like. I got to get back into the swing of things. Got to make sure we have the poll up every night as well. I'm about to be on the board. What is this, like the Puka Nakua area, Amon Ra? Wait, Puka's gone. I just can't pass on Amon Ra here. I love Nico Collins and Malik Neighbors right here. I don't mind Brian Thomas Jr., but I mean Amon Ra's my boy, so I'm going Amon Ra. But I like all those options at wide receiver there. I mean, any of those guys could finish in front of or behind each other easily. Okay, Mike's on the board. Gonna get a good value no matter what. Like I said, I like all these wide receivers. Andrea, we are glad you made it. J-Dubs, back of the board. It happens. Cameron, would you sell Lad McConkey for a 2025 1.10, 1.11, and 3.2? I mean, I would say this is an appropriate value to sell Lad McConkey. Is this a super flex? I'm going to assume it's a super flex format. You know, that does impact overall ADP, but let me know if it's not a super flex format. If we're looking purely at draft picks, 2 first round picks is probably okay, but like in a super flex format in that area, like, oh, this literally happened in our league. Well, dude, I like, you know, wait, was that the single quarterback league? Oh, hold on. Let me make this draft pick. Man, I was like starting to go like full in-depth analysis there. What do I want to draft here? This is a I like okay, I'll say the 2.5. I don't really like this range. Just give me the upside with Devon A. Shane, I guess. Yeah, so let's see. Did we finish both the drafts for both the single quarterback leagues? We did. Okay. Would I do the trade? It really depends on there's so much when it comes to dynasty trades, you know. Like I said, in terms of draft value, like in terms of pick value, it's probably fair. But generally speaking, regardless of your contending or rebuilding, it, I don't know. I would rather just have Vlad, really, regardless of the format. Like, I would just rather have Vlad, you know? And like in that range right now, like you're looking at a lot of different names. I mean, let me pull up both of the drafts for the single quarterback leagues. And like, it doesn't even really, ADP is so weird. Sorry, that's the noise you guys keep hearing. But yeah, like you're looking at RJ Harvey, Cam Scatabo went at the 1.11 in one of the single quarterback leagues. You got Loveland, Dylan Sampson at the beginning of the second, uh, Buka at the 1.8, Caleb Johnson at the 1.9. Then the other league, 1.9 is Harvey, then Tyler Warren, then Golden, then Caleb Johnson, and Trey Harris at the 2.1. So, like, you think of those names, like, yeah, obviously you could get two guys who probably could turn out in value for sure, but I'd rather just have Vlad. And that's just really the way I look at that. The 3.2 is like, I mean, it is going to be super hit or miss, you know. There are names that I like in that range, but yeah, my answer is I would personally, really, regardless of build, just have Lad. But if you want to take the picks, I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's awful. I the rookie fever gets so hot so fast, and it's just like, I mean, none of these guys are proven in any way. I would rather just have the proven asset. But with all that being said, don't forget in the Superflex Dynasty League. I know we have two Superflex leagues, but I traded Lad McConkey for Chase Brown straight up with Taylor Gang, right? And now that was once again very situational. Overall, I think long term, like I lost that trade, but I was in a position where it was like the chips are all in here. We're making a championship run. Sorry, I'm knocking things over. And my only running back behind Derrick Henry is Rashad White, which actually turned out it probably would have been fine. But this is like right when Bucky was getting super hot. And the rest of my team was loaded. I had some depth in terms of, flex options and some of them very short term flex options like Jawan Jennings, for example, right? And sometimes things like that happen. And Chase Brown edition was huge for my team. But also, if I just rolled with Rashad White and kept Lad as a flex option, like I probably would have been fine. But so in terms of Lad McConkey trades, I've been on the end of them too. But I also like the other thing I take into consideration with that trade is that I traded Khalil Shakir and Jerome Ford for the selection that turned into Lad McConkey. So I felt like I really wasn't losing as much. That makes sense. Yeah, I couldn't tell you what had happened in any of our leagues. I get them all mixed up and backwards. Cameron, did you? So you got the picks. Okay. So you got Warren Golden, and I like A.O. Manor a lot too in terms of the third round selection that you ended up with. Yeah, I mean, like, let's say Matthew Golden gives you close to Lad McConkey production, which is a very realistic option. Then yeah, you absolutely smash this. I tend to, if you guys have noticed, play Dynasty a bit safe. I think I really at this point, most of my teams are built not as strong in terms of rookie additions. Luckily going into next year, I have all my picks at the moment. But, the only league that I was going kind of young in, kind of I traded most of my picks this year for players, but that's resulted in uh at least one championship. So you know, I tend to play it a little bit more in terms of proven assets, so to speak. But I once again, I don't think this is a bad trade. I would just personally rather have Vlad McConkey, but either answer is fine. I'm going to scary Terry here. Probably would have traded one for the 1.5, 111, 2026 second. That's fair. That's fair. And I mean, that sounds good on paper, but would this trade have ever happened is the question. Sometimes the trade you get offered is the only trade you get. But yeah, Cameron, I'm not knocking the trade. Just giving you my opinion. I do think like if Matthew Golden works out, then he smashed that. And I like A.O. Manor. There's quite a few names in the third round, but A.O. Manor I really, really like. So, and Tyler Warren, obviously we like him. So you shouldn't have told me it was your trade, because then I would have just gone full answer there, which I basically did anyways. But in-season value is much different than off-season, 100%, but I still feel like, Ladd McConkey's value last year is pretty high, but we did that trade. It was, I don't remember what week, but it had to be like week 9 or 10, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit later. And like I was literally with that team rolling with Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and Rachaad White, like all season long. And that was concerning. All right, Taylor says Chase Brown II is silly. Produced like he did last year only by seeing 89% of offensive snaps. He's not seeing that again. Yeah, there could definitely be some shift within that offense. I like Chase Brown. I like Kyren Williams more. I think you could argue JT over Chase Brown. But I won't be surprised if I think the two names that we see in that range that people are worried about in terms of regression are Chase Brown and Bucky Irving. Oh God, I'm on the clock. Sorry. I'm just going with my bounce back method. I'm gonna go wide receiver RB all draft long. See what happens. So we'll go with Kenneth here. I don't know. I'm not out on Chase Brown in that range personally. I know that people are, but like, I think for me is like, what's the real competition? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Zach Moss is even going to play this year. There's just nobody there that worries me. You just don't like him in the second round. That's fair. That's fair. I think, when you look at that offense, like the defense is still going to suck. They're going to be pretty similar to last year. So, I think that the opportunity's there for Chase Brown to have another big season. And like, I know I'm just kind of throwing Bucky Irving in the mix here. Once again, I just don't worry about Bucky Irving because, as long as he's healthy, like that is another offense that's going to have a lot of trips to the red zone. So I can see not liking either of those two guys. Those are just two names I've seen like thrown around as, people are worried about regression, maybe less opportunities compared to last year. But right now, I'm not too worried about it. I do personally like Kyren Williams over Chase Brown, for example. But I like the value on James Cook in the third. I think Breece Hall, okay. Breece Hall hasn't come up at all tonight, but how do you guys feel about the Jets offense going into next year? Let me know. Trading for Justice Hill is a genius trade. What did I give you? A third round pick? For me, once again, that team, all the chips were in last year. I mean, it was championship or bust, and I still think I should have won that league. I think I lost to Jay Speezy by like 8 or 9 points. Whatever it was, if I had started Jawan Jennings over Cooper Kupp, I would have moved on to the championship, and I would have won the championship based on points scored in week 17. So all my chips were in. So actually, like, it was a good trade for me, being that I only had Derrick Henry and Rachaad White as running backs, and he was my handcuff. And Justice Hill actually had very startable moments last year. It's just very hard to target when they were going to happen. Cincinnati should absolutely sign Dobbins. I mean, somebody should sign Dobbins. Yeah, or Chubb. Yeah, both those guys will get signed, is my opinion. And like the Chargers did something with Dobbins. Remember when I read this? So they apply the unrestricted free agent tender to J.K. Dobbins. I don't even know what that means. He can sign with any team, but the Chargers will retain his exclusive negotiating rights if he does not. So when I first read that, I was like, I thought Dobbins was with the Chargers, and it was going to be this huge deal where we have this cluster, backfield with Amari Hampton, Najee Harris, and J.K. Dobbins, and that still could be a thing that happens. But yeah, I do think, Dobbins to Cincinnati be a good spot. Chase Brown averaged over 7 points in receiving points alone per game. Wow, number 7 in the league. Yeah, how many fantasy points per game did he have? Kat says, what's there to not like about Brown? Same competition as last year. 15.9 fantasy points per game for him. And I think that Taylor likes him. Just doesn't like him in the second round. Not playing 80 to 90% of the snaps again. Great player, though. Yeah, I forgot about this trade, Cinnabon. This was a huge trade for me. So I don't remember all the specifics there, but we swapped Ayuk and Higgins the week before he tore his ACL. That was a huge trade for me. Huge. All right. There's a couple names at receiver I like here. I'm gonna go Chris Godwin, but there's, any of these wide receivers available, I like. Yeah, that was a trade that I did feel bad. Ayuk, 2025 second is what you got, and I got a 2025. Oh wait, that's what it was. You got Ayuk, 2025 second, and my 2026 second. I got T. Higgins and Mooney. So Mooney was another guy on that team. And I remember I was like, oh, this is, once again, all my chips are in. Draft picks don't matter for this team. And Mooney was another guy. I'm it's just a flex option. He was another one of those flex options I have on that squad, or had, because I don't even know how relevant is Mooney going to be this year. I think he'll be okay, but yeah, that was another name. These were the names I was rotating. Jalen McMillan came in pretty clutch too for me down the stretch. That was another guy that I didn't start over Kupp, and that's really what got me. That's really what got me last year, because I remember in my heart I was like, I need to start Jalen McMillan, but I'm just gonna start Kupp, trust my studs or whatever. If I started McMillan in week 16, I would have won. McMillan or Jennings would have got me through. I remember things like that, if you guys are wondering. I said I was going to do the bounce back method, which I think wide receiver value right now on the board outweighs running back value. So look, give me a little Pickens tonight. Why not? But yeah, these are the names of players I was rotating in the flex last year in that dynasty league. Jalen McMillan, Demarcus Robinson, Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Jawan Jennings, Darnell Mooney, Rashad White, Cooper Kupp. Those were my flex options. Behind Burrow, Henry, Chase, Brown, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Jonnu Smith came in clutch for me last year. That was a huge come up. Then Brock Purdy was my QB2. Dak Prescott died on me. Christian Kirk died on me. Rashid Shaheed died on me. And I did start Freiermuth for most of the season, but Johnny Smith was like the Johnny Smith luck. Like that was huge for that team. And then at times I may have flexed Justice Hill too. So that's just a good example of like a very short-term team. But I do have a first-round pick next year. I'm no second rounder, no third rounder. It could be worse. And you guys know in that league who has it worse than me and no championship. All right, let me get caught up here. Andrea won in her league 3 times. Let's go. J-Dub's laughing at me. Got 6 2026 seconds next year in that league. That is crazy. Yeah, your team's pretty heavy on the rebuild. We got a couple teams in that league. That's only like, I don't want to say it's a problem with that league because there's enough middle ground teams. But you have kind of like, you know, the rebuild teams are here. Then there's like 2, maybe 3 iffy teams. And then there's like 6 really competitive teams. But I'm okay with it. You know, that's a solid league. Well, you got Jaden Daniels, Jadon Blue. Who is Woody Marks? On the Texans. Tet McMillan, Travis Hunter, Roma Dunze, Komet, Jaden Higgins, Keon Coleman, Caleb Williams. Your bench is not even worth. I mean, you got Trevor Etienne. You got Tyler Shook. Sid Tillman. Jack Besh is on your taxi squad. That rookie tight end for Seattle's there. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much in a rebuild, but this could be one of those teams that kind of surprises you. Quarterbacks are solid. 2 first rounders and so many second rounders. 3rd and a 4th. 2 first rounders in 2027. I mean, yeah, he could be there closer than you think. Do you think Rashee Rice getting suspended? It's possible. Like when it comes to suspensions, it's like we have no idea what, like when, the timeline and all that stuff. So right now, I would be personally more concerned about him coming off injury than anything else. But he might. But yeah, like Jordan Addison, Rashee Rice, like is anything going to happen? I don't really know. Jabs has 2 2026 firsts in that league. Well, there are people trading away first in that league, that's for sure. That league, like, you know, what, I was 3rd place last year. I've already ranted about it tonight. And then the year before, I think I lost to you, J-Dubs. Maybe that was a different Dynasty league. But I was top 5, like, which means nothing. 5th, 4th, or 3rd, something like that. I do really want to win a championship in that Dynasty league. I will tell you guys. This is Andrea, the Superflex Dynasty League. I mean, there's 2 of them, but this is one of the 2. Tyler bench in that league is all lottery tickets. Better than holding mid players like Jawan Johnson. Fair. If you're in a strict rebuild, for sure. How big a monster with Taylor's team? Yeah, Taylor was another team that was like rebuilding. And then, I mean, that's a great example of a team that's just kind of like, oh, I was rebuilding, but I hit on a lot of players, you know? And that team is not in rebuild anymore, I would say. Taylor, did you make the playoffs? Is Taylor even in here? I don't think so. But I mean, T-Law, Genty, Cook, JJ Puka, Neighbors, Garrett Wilson. I traded him Lad McConkey, Kyler Murray, Tucker Kraft. Yeah, that's not a rebuild anymore. Man, I didn't even see DeAndre Swift was available. He's not being drafted at his ADP. Sorry guys, let me make this pick. I cannot. I am so scared to draft Isaiah Pacheco. I'll tell you guys that. I'm just gonna draft him for the conversation. Yay or nay on Pacheco this year. But yeah, in that same bench, Taylor has Fields, Tracy, and Scatabo, Dowdle, Pearsall, Ingram. Couple good players on his taxi squad. Tootin, Jalen Noel, Kyle Williams. He's got RJ Harvey. Yeah, that's a solid little squad right there. Yeah, okay. So I think I want to say I got fourth place. I think I lost to you, then won the following game. If not, I lost to you, then lost. So it was fourth or fifth place. From everything I'm reading, Rice's court case won't be until after this year. Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. Started Nick Mullins against me. Against me or oh yeah, that's right. Cameron is gonna win the Catch Fam 1 QB league this year. I won't be surprised. Let me I'll pull up your team in a minute here. Guarantee it. Okay, Joe Namath. Taylor didn't make the playoffs last year. Yeah, I know he was close. Winning Caleb so badly from him, I gave him JJ and Fields. Okay, now I remember that. Yeah, good old Jawan Jennings goes late in these drafts. What's up, Cats? What are you up to, bro? Here I am back on the board. I don't even know what this team is. I've been having too much fun talking to you guys. Just, I'll risk it for the biscuit. I'm going a little risky with these last two picks. Don't love them. Pacheco and Ayuk. All right, so Cameron. Brock and roll. That team? Or is it in the other league? Is it the Brock and roll team? Brock and roll it is. A-Rich, Connor, Benson, Worthy, Thielen, Kincaid, Jonnu. Bro, I tried to trade for Jonnu with you. I really thought we were going to make a deal. JJ McCarthy, Cam, Ward, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. He got a lot of QBs. Lloyd, Hunt, Mitchell, Leggett, Golden, Pierce, Warren. Blue, Sampson, Manor. I don't know if I'm ready to call this a championship team. Your lineup's a little mixed up, though. Just throwing me off. I mean, I know this is a team that has enough pieces that could surprise for sure. Say you start Darnold and McCarthy, Connor. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to call this championship team. But anything goes. That's the beauty of it, right? Jameer today, Bijan tomorrow is repeating. What do you mean? Taylor's also stacked in that league. Connor and Trey Henderson. Now I think you're messing with me. I mean, the thing is, like, this team could end up winning a championship. That's just what's crazy about fantasy football. I was kind of hoping Baker would last to the 9th. I almost took him just for the sake of it. Do you think Jalen Warren will be the guy for the Steelers? We kind of talked about this earlier. I think early in the season it will be Warren. Sorry, Dom, you asked this earlier too. My bad. Yeah, and I think as the season goes on, I don't know, training camp could like completely kind of change our views. We're gonna get like a lot of coach speak and all of that and whatever, but I think to start the season we'll see a split, and then Caleb Johnson will slowly have the opportunity to take over that backfield. So, like, will I be surprised if Caleb Johnson is the guy by the end of the season? No. Will I be surprised if we get the wrong read here? No. If it's Warren, it's Warren. But, Warren's always kind of played alongside Najee, and I just think it's going to be a similar type situation where you got kind of two different running backs there and two different styles. And I think it'll end up being a little bit more frustrating for fantasy than anything. That's a weird pick right here. It's a weird team I drafted. Just give me Patty. With Mahomes, Pacheco was hurt last year. Rashee Rice was hurt. Hollywood Brown was hurt. He was still the QB 11, QB 8 the year before. How many fantasy points per game did Mahomes have last year? Kind of a skewed metric almost with quarterback. I mean, it's not, but just in comparison to everyone we've talked about. I mean, okay, Mahomes had 18.4 fantasy points per game in 2023. He had exactly 18.4 fantasy points per game last year as well, which were both kind of step downs, obviously, because he was the QB. You look back to 2018, the QB 1.74418. So that stretch, then all the additions last year to the offense. So it really gave us excitement about where Mahomes was going in terms of draft capital last year. But all things considered, the QB 11 last year, it really, his stats are very similar to the previous season. So, do I love Mahomes right there? I don't know if I love him when I think that there's similar value at quarterback later in the draft, but I'm okay with it. Do you ever get that higher stakes dynasty league going? No. I mean, technically, yes. And then it just fizzled out, and I deleted the league. So, dang, I knew I should have drafted Rachaad White. Who took him? Tame. As the months go on, there's no way I'm even going to be able to draft Rachaad White. But as an RB4, I just love that value. Screw, give me Johnny Smith. We'll go hunting for a final running back and wide receiver. But here's the thing, if I pass on Mahomes there, we still have Goff, Kyler Murray. I'm a little low on Justin Herbert, although I don't know. He really got going last year towards the end of the year, but I just still believe that's a run first offense. But Bo Nix, Purdy, Williams, Stroud, who just went, Prescott, Tua, Drake May. Like, there's so many names of so many players who will easily have opportunities to be top 10 quarterbacks this year. And we see it every single year. So that's why I generally just go with the skill position player there. And I was going to go White, and I now regret that. And it's the same exact argument with tight ends. Like, you go Johnny Smith in the 10th, or like, there's just so many names here. Njoku, Ingram, Kincaid, Ferguson, Kraft, Goddard, Henry. Pitts has not come up tonight, but that's a name. Then you got like Tyler Warren, Kate Otten. Like, there's just so many names that you can easily hold off at the positions, and that's what I usually do. Chuba or Kenneth Walker. I think it's pretty close. I think it kind of boils down to durability is more the issue with Kenneth Walker. I think presumably that offense, I don't know if I want to say it'll be better. What, we got Darnold, no Metcalf. It's very close. And obviously I went Walker. I mean, I would say right now those two players are neck and neck for me. It's the latest I've ever seen McBride go. Yeah, I mean, he won the first mock of tonight, now in the second and the fourth. So you'll see him kind of bounce around. But also this group, you guys are a little bit lighter on tight end. We've seen Bowers go in the second round in both drafts tonight. And McBride in the third, and the first mock we did. Now in the second, he's in the fourth. So, just depends on who you're drafting with. You might see those two players get skewed a little bit, but generally, this group is a little bit light in terms of drafting tight ends, and I would say quarterbacks to a degree. Evan Ingram, Kraft, or Warren. Yeah, for me, it's Evan Ingram still, because I like the Broncos offense. I think Bo Nix, Sean Payton's going to continue to be a good thing next year. And yeah, I think they brought in Evan Ingram for a reason. Bo Nix wanted Evan Ingram, at least according to reports. And he's going to get a lot of volume. And, he was banged up last year, as was our boy T-Law. And so sometimes that's harder when you're looking at things, but he had 9.9 fantasy points per game, which was definitely a drop off. But, amongst tight ends, that is the 12th most fantasy points per game. So, tight ends is always a big headache, right? But yeah, I like Ingram a lot there. I don't know that you have to draft Tyler Warren right now, the way that redraft mocks are looking. But also, like, these mocks we're doing are only 4 bench spots. So once we move to 5 as the offseason progresses, we'll probably see him. He's a player I could definitely see, especially with the right coach speak and like training camp buzz. Tyler Warren could really, in redraft formats, move up on draft boards for sure. All right, I'm going to kind of reach here and go Eckler, because I still think he's going to have some sort of role in that offense, and I need some running back help on this team. Just going to go ahead, let you guys know I'm not going to have time to do team reviews for this mock, since we did 2 mocks tonight. So just fair warning. Why is everyone so low on Evan Ingram? I'd rather have him than Andrews. Am I crazy? I mean, I'm never going to say that anyone's like crazy for your own personal conviction in fantasy football, unless it's like you want to take Trey Benson over Devon Achane in the second or something of that nature. But I still am very high on Mark Andrews personally. We talked about that in the last mock. I think Mark Andrews in the 10th is ridiculous. It's fantastic value. I personally still have Andrews over Ingram, but no, I really like Ingram right now for sure. You're going to trade one of your quarterbacks Superflex League to push for the championship again? No. Like, I still feel like I have the perfect, I drafted Purdy, Burrow, and Prescott, and like I don't know. I feel like that trio is. I'm just gonna ride it till it dies. I mean, I think I've gotten some pretty good offers. Like last offseason, I had a pretty good offer for Prescott on the table. And retrospectively, it would have been a good trade because Prescott was hurt last year and I was in a championship run last year. But, you know, probably just going to stay put with those three guys. So I remember I got Prescott late in that startup draft compared to ADP. Purdy was my guy. I'm the one and only true Purdy believer. At least on a consistent basis, I feel like. And yeah, Burrow's a stud. I don't know. I mean, I'll never say never, but probably not. Yeah, I think Njoku. I mean, yeah, we've talked about that kind of bracket of tight ends a few times, and a lot of really good value amongst that position. So, J-Dub says late quarterback is ridiculously deep this year. It always is. It always is. It always is. That's why I never spend early draft capital on it. We're rookie running back rankings in redraft leagues. It's at this point in time, like I do think that once again, coach speak, training camp, potential injuries, all these things will change. But it's probably pretty boring right now. It's Genty and Hampton are going to be the first tier. I probably Trayvon Crenshaw Judkins probably next. I still have some sort of like beef there because I like Dylan Sampson. Probably Caleb Johnson next. I think that Bashaw Tootin is pretty dang high for me. He could even arguably be he's probably right next. I think that Bashaw Tootin could easily be a large contributor to the Jaguars offense this season. I think a lot of people feel that way. So I'd probably say those guys, and then like you move into the next tier where once again Dylan Sampson's probably somewhere in here, or he could just completely fizzle out, and then I don't know. I'd probably have Scatabo there, but I still think that Tyrone Tracy's going to get a lot of snaps. I'm not out on Tracy per se. You have some interesting names like Devin Neal, Damian Martinez, Ollie Gordon, Trevor Etienne. And I'm sorry, I'm super tired, but RJ Harvey's probably 3 for me. He might be in front of Trayvon Henderson for me. I'm a big Harvey guy. So I'll go I knew I was forgetting somebody. I was like, something's wrong here. So Genty, Hampton, Harvey, Henderson, Judkins, Johnson, Tootin, Sampson, Scatabo. Then you got a lot of interesting names. Yeah, that's probably it. All right, let's wrap up the chat here. Then I'm going to have to get off in just a minute here. But 2 great mock drafts tonight. Thank you guys for drafting. Any of these guys could be top 3 quarterbacks. Yeah, and that's how it is every year. I mean, we could literally see, Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, Bo Nix, Stroud, Kyler, any of them crack the top 5. That's the beauty of late round quarterbacks. Maybe Trevor Lawrence, right, Cats? Justin Fields should be going the top 10 quarterbacks. Now there's a hot take. I do really like Justin Fields going into the year. I don't know if he's going to end up getting drafted in a lot of redraft formats, but I think he will easily be a waiver wire addition. And say whatever you want about him, whatever you want, but I mean, he has fantasy value, and he's the QB1 on that team. 18.4 fantasy points per game, 2023. 20.5 in 2022, just 12 last year, but I feel like a big part of that was a product of the Steelers offense. So hard to take redraft ADP seriously this time of year. I think they'll shoot up a little bit closer to the season. Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks will shift. They always do closer and closer to August, right? Vincent wants to join a startup dynasty superflex. I love startup drafts. I do. If there's going to be a fifth dynasty league, I need a co-commissioner ready to go. And there are a lot of you guys already co-commissioning the 4 leagues we have. I don't want to stretch anybody thin. I'm already stretched as thin as possible. And then we got to get if we have 2 people, me and you, we got to get 10 people as soon as possible on board. Everyone paid up for 2 years. I mean, it's a very long process. So, if we can come together as a community, get a co-commissioner or 2 co-commissioners on board, enough people, I will join another league and I will help you guys run another dynasty league for sure. But it's just a lot of steps. Yeah, I like Fields right now. Have a good night, Andrea. Thanks for hanging. Thoughts on grabbing a running back versus wide receiver in the first round? I think it's much better to grab a high-end wide receiver because running backs are deep. I feel like wide receivers are deeper right now than running backs. But it kind of comes down to your personal conviction there. Once again, it comes down to strat. Are you going to go hero running back? Are you going to go double hero running back? Are you going to go what I call a bounce back method? RB in the first, wide receiver in the second. Continue that throughout your draft. Once again, it depends where are you drafting, who's already been drafted. I don't think that there's a wrong choice in the first round right now. Look at all the players who went in the first round in this mock. I am okay starting your draft with any of these guys. So, and then the second round, this is pretty dang close in terms of, value there. So, I would say I'm indifferent. Might be making another Superflex Dynasty League in a week or 2. J-Dub says he's down. Yeah, Vincent, if you're still listening, just pay attention on Discord. Maybe we'll get something brewing. Like I said, I will join another one. Thank you, Taylor. Good to see you, Brisky. Andrea says 2 Dynasty Leagues is enough. Probably for most people. Have a decent amount of people interested right now. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, Vincent, make sure you're on Discord or get in touch with Cinnabon, and I'm happy to, of course, plan on streaming. Well, we can't really stream a startup mock or startup draft. We can stream startup mocks, but yeah. All right. Wow, I haven't sent out a Discord invite in so long. But I still remember how. I'll throw the Discord invite in the chat if you want to join, Vincent. It's the easiest way for everyone to communicate. But I'll be back on next week as well. I meant to try and stream 2 times this week and just didn't get around to it. I've been super behind on everything the past 2 weeks, but things will start to clear up for me over the next couple of weeks. So we'll figure it out, Vincent. Don't panic. And Cinnabon, maybe just try and keep in mind that Vincent's trying to join too when you start to look at everything. So Vincent's been here since the early days. We'll try and get him in too. All right, boys and girls, thank you so much for hanging out tonight, for talking some fantasy, for drafting 2 very solid mocks tonight. And I'll keep ramping up the content, I promise. Like I said, things are going to start to clear up for me another 2 weeks. And I really do want to get back in the thick of things. So I'm going to continue to roll out some mocks and stream and get some videos and shorts and everything going over the next couple of weeks. And we are looking forward to it. Pete was not able to stream tonight because he's having some power issues, bad storms, and he'll be back around as well. So appreciate you guys and had fun with you guys as always. So I'll talk to you guys soon. With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, Yazad here on the catch and Peace. And I got to shout out Smokey. What's up, Smokey? Sorry you made it at the end of the stream. Good to see you, broski. I'll talk to everyone soon. Hit me up on Discord or Sleeper if you guys need anything.